Hi paper crafters, this is Robin with Robin's Creative Cottage. Today I'm sharing you how I store my Cricut cartridges. I've actually had a few requests on how I store them, and so I wanted to share that with you. And I know that there's a ton of videos out there with showing how to store Cricut cartridges, and they're all great. I've actually tried a few different ideas on how to store my cartridges, and this is what for me has been the very best solution. What I have tried, just so you know, I've actually tried storing them on the Clip It Up, which is kind of a rotisserie, is that the right word? Storing system where they hang with little clips, and each Cricut cartridge is in a plastic bag. And for me, I just found it didn't work. I like to flip through my Cricut cartridges, or the handbook rather. I like to flip through the handbook to find different images to use. And then if I don't like that one, then I just put it back. So for me, taking them up and down just on the Clip It Up just didn't work for me. Another way I've tried to store my handbooks and my Cricut cartridge was in these containers, which works great, works fine for most, I'm sure. You can put several handbooks in these two lower parts, and then on the top you can create these different mesh dividers and then put your Cricut cartridges in. Why this didn't work for me actually is because I labeled each of the little spots with the Cricut cartridge, and whenever I would get a new one, then I would need to shift them all because I like to keep them in alphabetical order for easy, so I can find them easily. So for me, shifting these so often just didn't work for me. This, I'm sure, is a great way to store your handbooks. So a lot of people store their cartridges this way, and I'm just letting you know what didn't work for me. These are the two boxes that I store my Cricut cartridges in. I keep saying Cricut cartridges, and I mean the handbooks. This is how I store my handbooks. I don't store my Cricut cartridges in these boxes. These two boxes I just purchased from Michael's when they were on sale, so I got them just very inexpensively, and I actually bought several of these boxes to use for other things. So on the front, I just have just an easy slip in, and I just wrote with a pen A through L, and then on the other one here I have M through Z. So that's how I just store my handbooks. And let me just show you the inside. That's what people are asking me how I have done the handbooks. So here are my handbooks in here, and I have 69 Cricut cartridges, and not including the few that I have on my Gypsy. So those aren't included in here. So this is how I store them. There's a few missing in here because of projects that I am currently working on. So it's very colorful, and the tag, each handbook has a rubber band and then a tag reading the name of the handbook. So I can, and they're all in alphabetical order. And so when I do get a new handbook, it's easily to put in the order where it belongs. So obviously not shifting. But I like the idea of just keeping them in just two boxes. And I do have a little room to grow if I decide to get new Cricut cartridges, which I actually haven't bought any for quite a while. So I'm really happy with the cartridges that I have. There's just a ton of images to work with. So let me just show you how I have put together. Now, just so you know, this is not at all my original idea. I did see this on another YouTube, and I searched, when someone asked me how I do my handbooks, I searched and searched on where to find that video, and I couldn't find it. Finally, after I had emailed her back and said, well, this is what I do, and I searched again for the video and I found it. So I am going to link to that video. There is someone who does sell kits on eBay for this, but they're quite pricey. For me, this was a very inexpensive way to organize my Cricut cartridges. But if you like her kits and would like to purchase them, that's great. So let me just show you a few close-ups of the cartridges, rather the handbooks. What I do when I get my handbook is I go through and I take all of the pages out that are not English language, and that just helps it so it's not quite as thick, so when you put it in your storage container. And then what I did is I purchased these little rubber bands, and I just purchased a whole, they come in a, I think, I don't know if I bought 1 or 2 packages, but they come all together, so you have a whole bunch of different colors, and if you want to just go with just black, you could do that if you wanted to, but I like to use the color rubber bands. So, and then I took my handbook, the Tags, Bags, Boxes, and More, and with the Cricut cartridge, I cut out this tag. This is on page 94, and then it's cut at 2 inches tall, and I believe it's about 3/4 inches wide is how I cut the size of mine. And then I get a tag that just looks like this. And then this is what I'm going to go ahead and put the name on, and I'll put the name of the cartridge on both sides. And then I also, once I do that, I'll put a brad in there. That's not a brad, that's an eyelet. I'll put an eyelet in there, and that will just help with stability. So, but of course it is just paper, so of course you don't want to pull too hard anyway. So I wrote the name of Birthday Bash on this side and also the opposite side. And then what I'll do is I just take the rubber band, and then I just pinch one end and push it through the eyelet. And once I've pushed it through, then I'm just going to loop it. Push the loop in there and pull it gently. I'm holding on to the tag so it obviously won't tear. And then from there, then I just take and just put it through, you know, and I did a bunch of different areas. I didn't put them all in the same area, and that way when it lays in my storage container, it varies throughout where the tag is on the different cartridges. Sorry, the handbook. So anyway, so what I do is I just loop it through 2 of the 2 that are together there, and then again just loop it through, and then I'm going to put the tag through there, and then just pull it, and then that's how I'll just store it in my container, just like that. And then again, I just store them in alphabetical order. There are a few handbooks that you get that are just not the actual handbook. For example, this is just a fold out. This is from the Home Accents. Zoom out a little bit. Home Accents, and it's just a little pamphlet. And I of course still wanted to keep the pamphlet, so it had all the different ideas. And what I did here is I put an eyelet just right in the paper, and again I have to be careful because this is much thinner, a thin paper, that it will tear easily. So I did just put an eyelet on there, and then my tag, and then I just keep the overlay just tucked inside there, so when I go to pull it out. Here is my Summer in Paris, and I just have one flap for that one, and then again I just put an eyelet in there, and then put my hair tie, and then my tag. And then what I do with the overlay is I just put it just behind it or in front, it doesn't matter. I just put it, and that's how I store it in my storage container. Okay, the last one that I have is the Mother's Day bouquet, and it had 2 different pieces here, and I may have had to cut this down a little bit because it was a little tall in my box, so I may have cut this one down, or a few others. I can't remember which ones I did now, but again, and this one is really thick. It's not paper, it's a very thick, and it's coated with a coating. So I decided not to put an eyelet on this one, but I did punch the holes in both of these two papers, and then I put the hair tie through it, and so then it just keeps it connected. So when I pull it out, because I wanted to keep this front cover because I liked the different flowers on here just for an idea down the road. So that's why I kept the front of that one. And then again for the overlay, I just placed it just in between here. And then that's how I store in my storage container. I'll show you how I store my Cricut cartridges now. I do have a photograph of my storage boxes. These are boxes that I purchased from various stores, Walmart, over the years, and so I have a ton of them, and I store a lot of my embellishments in them, and I just have a photograph that I'm showing you on what those storage boxes look like. Because I don't use my Cricut cartridges very often, they're just back in those storage containers. They're actually right behind me where I work, so if I needed to grab them I could, but because I use my Gypsy so often, I almost never use my cartridges. So this is how I did it, and I just have these. This is just a piece of cardstock here, and I have just folded together a few pieces of cardstock and made kind of like little aisles, if you will. I suppose that's what they call them. So again, this system works for me because whenever I get a brand new cartridge, I just, for example, I would just take one out, put it over in the next aisle, and move. I only needed to move one from each aisle to get them all to shift, instead of the other way where I originally stored them, where I had to move almost every cartridge to get them in alphabetical order. This way I don't. I just have to slide them and put them where I want. So lots of room to grow, but like I said, I'm very happy with the cartridges that I have. The last idea of how I organize my Cricut cartridges is when I purchase a Cricut cartridge, I'll go online to where they have a list of all the handbooks. Provocraft has a list of all of the Cricut Cartridge handbooks, and so I print out the pages that they have, and this is how I just keep my so if I want to have a quick look on, you know, create a critter, saying, just looking through here to see a particular animal that I want to have, I might flip through there really quickly. But I honestly don't use this book as much as I thought I would, because I usually just grab the Cricut cartridge and then just flip through it, instead of just opening this. Like, I mean, it's a great idea, I just don't use it as often as I should. And then I just keep like my fall and Halloween in the back, and then my Christmas, and I do have the alphabets together in the back. However, it doesn't always work that great with the alphabets, because there are a lot of Cricut cartridges that have alphabets amongst a lot of images. For example, the Country Life. Country Life has an alphabet in it that's really great, that's really fun, but it's not a separate alphabet from the images, and so I don't have it back here. I actually have it with the other images as well. So anyway, just another idea to give you on how to organize your Cricut cartridges, and just to keep you organized so that everything is just easy access for you. That's just the best idea for me. So I hope this is helpful for some of you. I know there's a lot of ideas out there on how to organize, but here's another one for you, and maybe you'll learn something from this one and try it out. So just find what works for you, because that's what I did for me, is I found what works for me, and I love my system. Have a great day, everyone.